So I've basically wasted 4.5 years of my life, Charlie. I've just read all of these Philip K. Dick books, hoping to find some sort of hidden link between them all. The glue that binds the dicks together. Okay, there is the repeated use of flying cars and colonies on the moon and some sort of Gnostic entity, but that's not a proper shared Dickverse. The best I can come up with is that layers of reality do exist across his work, and you can gain access to these dimensions by taking lots of weird drugs, having a serious mental condition, or just keep getting divorced. I will not be defeated. I'll read all of these books again. I'll change my name to Philip. I'll take the pills. I'll leave my wife. And I will find a grand theory of dick, head, narrative.
Why didn't you just make a video about the Blade Runner universe?
That has given me a brilliant idea. I'll make a video about the Blade Runner universe.
What I just said.
Shh! Listen. A multimedia extended Blade Runner universe guide thingy. Stories interlinked with films. Interlinked with books. Interlinked within one stem. The base camp for this universe is, of course, the original 1968 novel Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep, which, depending on my mood, is my favourite Philip K. Dick book. Probably. I think the framing device of a bounty hunter tasked with finding and retiring 6 replicants, dangerous rebel androids, is great all on its own. Add in the examination of empathy, the social commentary, what it means to be human, more human than human, and the rich, weird background of a civilization that's lost its way, and you get science fiction, new wavy gravy, proto-cyberpunk gold. But outside of the book reading community, which is the vast majority of the planet, this story is better known for its 1982 adaptation, directed by Ridley Scott. Blade Runner. Discarding the more oblique angles of existentialism and religion in the book, and Deckard's complicated fascination with spending all of his wages on pet goats, Blade Runner, the film, focuses more on the noir future detective vibe, and to great effect, proving that blind loyalty to the source material doesn't necessarily ensure a better adaptation. The beauty is, we don't have to choose. We can read the amazing book and watch the excellent film. This universe comes alive in superposition. But let's stay in film mode for now. Denis Villeneuve, or Denis Villeneuve to his friends, directed the sequel in 2017.
Blade Runner 2049.
Blade Runner 2049. Thank you, Charlie. You really know your stuff, don't you? Set 30 years after the events of the original film, 2049 expands the scope of Scott's cinematic vision, while also giving more substance to Rick Deckard and so much more context, consequences, and possible ramifications to the replicants, and what that all means for the human race. It's one of those science fiction stories that displays far-reaching, mind-blowing concepts, but chooses to tell the local story and focus on characters and mood. Just like Blade Runner before it, and indeed Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep, they all have a tunnel vision narrative inviting the reader or the viewer to imagine what's lurking in the spaces between. And for most people, that's as far as the story will ever go. I consider myself an expert on Blade Runner. I've seen both of the films twice. The easiest and next logical step for anyone that wants to dive a little bit deeper into this world is to just stop watching cat videos for a second and check out the 3 short films that were released about a month before 2049. Set in between the 2 main films are Blade Runner 2036 Nexus Dawn, and 2048 Nowhere to Run. They're both live action, proper productions with proper actors and everything, including Jared Leto, and Dave Bautista. Blade Runner Blackout 2022 is an anime featuring the voice of Edward James Olmos. It tells the story of the events that led to the downfall of the Tyrell Corporation, which was then resurrected as the Wallace Corporation, depicted in 2049. All three of them are well worth your time, and I believe they're all free on YouTube. And bunched together, it'll only take you about 25 minutes to bang out. So what are you waiting for? Beyond that, an animated miniseries called Blade Runner Black Lotus was released in 2021. This takes place a decade after that other animated short, but before the live action productions. This is getting way too complicated, Charlie. What we need to do is milk this cash cow and make like a Blade Runner timeline
I've got a brilliant idea. Why don't we make a Blade Runner timeline video?
That's what I just said. Black Lotus is an Adult Swim production. I'm not even sure what that means. Where can you even find it? Do you remember the olden days when you knew what channel something was on? Amazon Prime, YouTube Prime Time, Crunchyroll. What the hell's Crunchyroll? I've never heard of it. Just have a sniff around and you'll find it. The show was dropped after one season, but there is a 4-issue comic run which acts as a sequel, kind of tying the whole thing up, called Blade Runner: Black Lotus Leaving LA. And there's a second series of that planned for 2025, which is this year. Anyway, back to film and TV. Apparently, filming has just wrapped on Blade Runner 2099. I think that's the biggest number we've had so far, right? I think so. It's a mini-series TV show thing produced by Amazon Prime, starring Michelle Yeoh, coming soon. And that's about it for the official stuff, the cinematic canon, if you will. Unless you buy into the theory that Blade Runner and the Alien franchise exist in the same universe. There are a few Easter eggs hidden across the films that could hint at a crossover if that's what you really want. Obviously, Ridley Scott directed both of the original films, so maybe he knew that future internet dorks would one day have nothing better to do than to overanalyze this stuff. Before we leave the silver screen behind, I must mention a 1998 Kurt Russell film called Soldier. So the story goes, a guy called David Peoples co-wrote the screenplay for Blade Runner, and soon after he wrote the outline for Soldier. During the promotional push for Soldier, he did say that he considers that film to be part of the Blade Runner universe, and there are quite a few links to that franchise. A spinner, which is the flying car from Blade Runner, can be seen in the detritus on the junk planet. Kurt Russell's character, Todd, fought in the Battle of Towhauser Gate. That's the same conflict that Roy Batty was part of. A big theme in Soldier is that soldiers are being replaced by androids, and the dates of all of these things do interlink. But rather strangely, Peoples recently denied that Soldier has anything to do with Blade Runner, even though it clearly does. And instead, he stated that the Terminator was actually the inspiration for the script. Just make your bloody mind up who you're ripping off, Dave. I haven't actually seen Soldier. Have you seen it?
Never even heard of it.
Never heard of it. I heard that it's pretty bad, a boring genre film and a waste of a good set, somebody said. But I suppose if I'm making more videos about this franchise and PKD adaptations, I should really check it out. Kurt Russell though.
Greetings from the future. These videos take a lot of time and effort and a little bit of money to make. Money which we don't have. You can watch all of our videos for free on YouTube, or if you would like to support the channel, you can use Buy Me a Coffee, which is an online tipping service. Get yourself a t-shirt or a mug, or some socks at the merch store. But best of all, we have a Patreon. You'll gain access to our exclusive Discord, home of the world's greatest read-alongs, the podcast Radio Death Cult, and of course, you can tell your friends and family that you've joined a death cult. Links in the description and on our YouTube homepage. Thank you so much.
This all started with a simple book, underappreciated in its time. Like most of Philip K. Dick's work, the world just wasn't quite ready for it. But after the success of Blade Runner, the publishers started warming up that money-making machine. Pretty much all of his unpublished novels were picked up, and I believe most of them, if not all of his bibliography, is still in print. Now this is where things get a little bit murky. As I stated earlier, Blade Runner and Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep are quite different. The book is not the film, and the film is not the book. But check this out. Okay, so if I do this, can you see it?
Yeah.
Just about. Okay, look, best-selling author of Blade Runner. From the author of Do Androids Dream... No, that one's okay. Best-selling author of Blade Runner. Best-selling author of Blade Runner. Author of Blade Runner. Filmed as Blade Runner. That one's okay as well. Author of Blade Runner and Minority Report. Was the short story called Minority Report, or...
I don't remember.
Anyway, it says Blade Runner on it. You get my point. I understand that you want to pull the Blade Runner crowd into your corner of the book market, but it just smells of... What is that? It's boardroom bullshit. And anyway, if you happen to have a copy of The Cosmic Puppets in your hand, you already know who Philip K. Dick is, and you know that he didn't write a book called Blade Runner. However, PKD was offered a large bag of cash to write the official novelisation of Blade Runner. Let's not complicate matters by worrying about whether he would have lived long enough to actually finish the book. He died right before the film came out. He turned it down, disgusted with the proposal of dumbing down his own work. But eventually, Blade Runner, A Story of the Future by Les Martin, which was the official novelisation of the film Blade Runner, complete with photographs from the film, was released in 1982. And of course, Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep was printed with the full-on Blade Runner artwork. Blade Runner! Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep? Let's skip forward to the mid-90s. Science fiction author and close friend of Phillips, before he died obviously, K.W. Jeter, is commissioned to write a sequel to the Blade Runner Dado's story. I know that may sound just as blasphemous as all this rebranding to some people, but if anyone was qualified to pick up the Dick Gauntlet, it was Jeter. He had a very similar writing style, or has. He's still very much alive and kicking. He writes about dark, future, androidy, weird stuff, and he even coined the phrase steampunk. I think I've actually got some of his books under the stairs. Hang on. Found it. Dr. Adder, a science fiction novel by K.W. Jeter. See, it's a man in the future with a mullet and a robot arm with lasers coming out of his fingers, and he's wearing jeans.
Why are you wearing a wig?
It's my book hunting wig. Jeter attempted to write a sequel to both Blade Runner and Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep in the same book. I'm not sure it really worked out that way though. There is some attempt to stitch both narratives together, and come up with some sort of hybrid sequel. But in my opinion, they just sort of trip over each other and contradict one version or the other. It's better to think of it as a novel sequel to the original film and then just leave this book to do its own thing, I think. Blade Runner 2, The Edge of Human, came out in 1995. The sequel to that, which is called Blade Runner 3, Replicant Night, was 1996. And the final book in the trilogy, all written by K.W. Jeter, Blade Runner 4, Eye of the Talon, was released in 2000. No huge spoilers in case you're planning on reading them, but we find out what happens to Deckard and Rachel after the film. There's a lot of information about the 6th replicant. We go to Mars. There's backstory about the Tyrell Corporation. And somebody is searching for a missing owl. But what about the secret prequel you mentioned in the title, I hear you cry?
What about the secret prequel you mentioned in the title?
Well, it's not really a secret, and it's not really technically a prequel, but this book, We Can Build You, does have quite a few tenuous links to Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep. This novel was published in 1972, which is 4 or 5 years after Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep, but the original short story, which is called The First in Our Family, which was eventually reworked into this novel, was written in 1962. Now, having just read all of these, I did notice a pattern of PKD approaching various rough, similar story ideas from different angles throughout his career. Ubik is a great example. The part of the story where reality itself is melting away feels very much like what he was doing in The Cosmic Puppets years earlier. As he evolved as a writer, he would revisit certain concepts and kind of try again. So maybe this is just another version of that. We Can Build You is about a company that builds simulacra, androids that are indistinguishable from humans. The slightly convoluted plot plays with the moral quandary that arises when you put self-aware machines to work, in this case as colonists on the moon, or trying to reignite the American Civil War with simulacra of Abraham Lincoln and other historical figures. It also features the mood organ, which is a contraption that reads and scrambles and induces I'm not sure, something about emotions. And a few of the character names pop up in both books. Most notably, Louis Rosen, which is the main character in We Can Build You, and of course the Rosen Corporation and Rachel from Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep and Blade Runner. All this overlapping could be explained by that regurgitation process that I mentioned earlier, and Dick did reuse some names throughout his novels, especially from stuff that he thought would never get published. But We Can Build You is a lot stronger than that. Whether Dick intended it or not, the story that we pick up here and in Blade Runner could have the history that's depicted in this book. It's not a very big stretch to imagine Louis Rosen taking control of the company in this book after his psychotic break, of course. Don't worry about that bit. Then his family line, Keep Control, eventually change the name to the Rosen Corporation and develop it into the future. A lot stranger things have happened in all of these books. They should have rebranded this Blade Runner 0.5. It would have sold a lot more copies, I guarantee it. But instead, someone in that boardroom thought it was a brilliant idea to put a robot Hitler on the cover. Robot Hitler's not even in this book. When will we ever learn? There, are you happy now, Charlie? A video about the Blade Runner universe. Just what you always wanted.
Hang on a minute.
You can apologise and thank me later. I'm going back under the stairs. See what nuggets I can find.